Welcome everyone to our webinar. Today our topic is SAP S/4HANA Migration, Disrupt Your Competition and Sustain the Digital Business Edge. We have a terrific panel discussion, and I'm pleased to welcome Imo Bohr, CEO at Westrax, to introduce our group.
Thanks, Rick. Okay, one major benefit for clients using Westrax is the neutrality. We are an independent analyst to focus solely to provide clients with reliable facts concerning the as-is condition of this SAP system. Whether you think about digitalization or IoT, or simply modernization or cost savings, it is vital for decision makers to have solid, neutral assessment facts, especially to migrate S/4HANA to run disruptive, competitive solutions. Our Westrax app, as software as a service, provides all the deep dive information produced in one day, without painful, expensive and long workshops. Thus not taking their own resources away from ongoing business and independent of the location or size of the system. Saying that, it's a great pleasure for me to introduce you now to the key players in today's event. First, it's Diana Bohr, CTO of Westrax. She developed the entire Westrax offline methodology and changed our analysis with available results up to 4 weeks to provide this as the app for one-day deep dive analysis. This runs on Diana's worldwide unique database with more than 1,765 analysis results for 15 different industries for each individual user. Second, I'm happy to introduce CIO Dave Barry, currently leading mergers and acquisitions projects at Bombardier and former CIO of Coty. Dave has got year by year the Quality Award for constant, effective and high quality of SAP system usage. Today, Dave is our subject matter expert within Westrax. And it's a great pleasure for me to introduce you Morten Loderup. He is the Director, SAP Alliances for Technology and Big Data at Dell EMC. Morten is one of the major supporters and drivers of this event. With Dell EMC, you will have the architecture which finally fits your need best. And finally, we have Mark Dentinger, Managing Partner of 3V Solutions, which is also a main contributor and supporter for this webinar. With 3V, he has established a migration factory which secures your final migration in the most cost-effective, automated manner. So let's start now with Diana and Dave. Both will proceed now with today's presentation.
Thank you for the introduction. Yeah, we all live in the age of digital transformation, which is actually driven by technology. But does digital transformation really enable digital disruption? The clear answer is yes, it does. It even enables startup companies to do so. They are agile, they are flexible, they have no history that slows them down. Dave, what's the challenge for companies that really are on the market since many years and have, all the ECC 6.0 systems in place? What do you think?
Great question, Diana. I think there's a couple of different viewpoints in this. One is the companies that have a long legacy of history with SAP. They may consider waiting till I think the 2025 date where ECC is going to end support. And I think you've got to think long and hard about whether you really want to do that or not, because at the end of the day, disruptions is really all about the digital play, and S/4HANA is the answer. You don't get that in ECC. So you really need to take a step back as a CIO and or someone leading the organization and saying, do I want to enter the digital space using a solid platform such as S/4HANA or not? And that leads to different consequences downstream, not costs notwithstanding. So those would be my two big takeaways. And I think everyone on the call needs to really think about the waiting game. And I think we're here today to talk about what is the way you can get there faster versus some of the traditional methods that have been used in the past.
Exactly. Thanks, Dave. That's exactly the subject we have today, because, those companies that are on the market since many years, they have their history, which is a challenge, but also a chance. And we can help them to really make their way to start their journey. And that's what we want to show today. We want to talk about, an end-to-end value proposition that helps you to really enter faster into the movement program from SAP. But the as-is of your current situation is, the challenge that slows you down, but again, the chance that helps you to understand, where you are today. But you need to be able to question what you're doing today. Your business processes, your products, your services, even your strategy is involved by that. And the reason why we talk about SAP here is that many SAP systems, from a technical point of view, are 2 to 3 releases behind when it comes to their business processes, because in the last couple of years, they only did technical release upgrades. So in the end, when you look at the benchmark database summary that I brought for you today, we did those analysis for more than 1,700 SAP systems worldwide with a drill down in 15 different industries. And it shows you that, more than 45% of the applications running on SAP today are custom code. And more than 70% of this custom code is either extremely old, so you do not really want to migrate that to a future platform like S4HANA. It is not delivering value in the future, or it's unused, so there is a possibility to cut the cost and the effort down, at least already here. And there's a lot of existing SAP standard functionality that you can use, but it is not used for the moment, not because it's not good. It is good, but it's not known because through the technical release upgrades in the last couple of years, companies avoid or did not have the time to really check what new features and functions came into this SAP release. So the gap between what they're doing and what SAP could do for them is really big, and it gets bigger and bigger. So the major problem we face today is that more than 90% of the established business processes are not transparent to the decision makers, or the one that really are responsible for the project. So, Dave, you have been CIO for so many different companies. You have experiences with the Westrax analysis. Let us share your experiences. What did you do with that when you worked for Coty and when you worked for Bombardier, for instance?
Yeah, thank you, Deanna. Great question. At Coty, and so for those that don't know, Coty at the time was about a $5 to $6 billion cosmetics company running SAP, single instance, 13 countries and 5 languages. And the question on the table was, where are we? What are we running? What do we have? And if we take on another acquisition, what does that actually mean? And we ran the Westrax software on our system. And we found it's quite stunning. We found something like 50% of the software that was custom built was actually not even executing, which was a huge play that I brought forward to the executive committee because they're the ones that actually approved the changes. So when you think about, and it was taking millions of dollars to build it, and also millions of dollars to test it, even though it was not being used in production. So, which we didn't know. So Westrax exposed all of this information for us, and it really gave us a sort of a pathway to how do we take that information and now begin to modify our systems as we get ready for the S4HANA environment. And we'll talk a little bit about the sort of the housekeeping part of this thing later on. So that's what happened at Coty, and had we not done this, it would have taken us probably a year to figure out what was running, what wasn't running, etc. At Bombardier Aerospace, we'll talk about a completely different industry, and actually this is in the rail side of the company. And Bombardier makes jets and they make trains and subways. We ran the process as well, and there too, in a system that was running for about 12 years, we found that over 50% of the software was actually not even being executed. We found that about 70% of the software was actually modified, so that we had this massive piece of software that was essentially going to be very, very complex to take that lift and shift and move into the Westrax environment. So that was a really big eye opener for the organization. And again, it's one of those things that you could spend months and months agonizing over trying to find this information. Westrax gave it to us literally in a day. And it took a lot longer for people to digest the actual outcome of this. And in a other industry that I was involved in as well, we ran Westrax, and what we found is that actually SAP was only 10% utilized of all the software. only 10% was utilized because the company over time had made decisions that essentially took SAP and put it into a corner, and all these other systems around the edges that were actually available to them inside of SAP actually weren't being utilized. So a massive change in the organization was taking place, because when I expose this kind of information, everybody looks at each other and they say, well, what happened? How do we get here? And you got there because of just the way companies operate. And I think everyone on the call can kind of relate to that decisions are taken at the time for expediency and for cost reasons. And then you get down to a point where now S4HANA, you want to enter the digital age, and you've got this massive tsunami facing you. And that's where Westrax comes into play and helps you really understand what it is that you've got. And it gives you then some guidance. And I think the results to advice model that Deanna and the team brings forward is helping to explain what it is you actually have in your environment, so you can then take those decisions to remedy that as you then begin the migration process to S4. And we'll talk more about this a little bit later in terms of what it actually takes to do. But these are some examples of my own personal experience of what occurred in several companies that across different industries that was a real eye opener. And it did give us a sense of where are we relative to other companies, where are we in our industry, how customized were we, how non-customized, how much were we in the SAP standard. And that was all really helpful because it helps drive user thinking going forward. And that's, I think, is key to the success of any kind of big programs that you put together. S4HANA is one of those where you need that input from the user community, and from Westrax, so they understand where you're going.
Thank you, Dave, for that. I also hear from our clients always that it helps to reduce discussions in those workshops, where everybody says, I think we need that, or this is important. We can prove with the analysis what's really important and what's really been used and what, could be skipped or archived and things like that. Okay, doc. So, but when we talk about the benefit of moving to SAP S4HANA, many companies think, I have ECC 6.0 in place and I have my processes built there, and it works fine for today's world. They have the question, why do I need S4HANA? Is there a business case for doing so? And before I ask you, Dave, I just want to say something here, that many companies, they really, as I mentioned before, are technically on this ECC 6.0 release, but from a business process point, they are far away. So that's one of the major issues we have today. And the other issue is that with S4HANA, you can support so many different technologies that help you to make benefit out of this digital, disruption of this digital transformation, so that you really can change your business, and you have to do so. Dave, what's your opinion to that?
I think you're absolutely right. Again, this gets back to ECC itself is not a digital platform. It's a great platform. Listen, all of you on the call, I'm sure, have used it successfully over the years, and now you're facing that big dilemma of how do I move to the digital age? And you may have moved to the digital age independently of ECC, and now you find yourself with this potpourri of technology that you're trying to figure out, how do I get from here to there? How do I get to S4HANA with this history and legacy of what I have? So I think, looking at Westrax as a capability, as a technology, and as an assessment vehicle actually accelerates the process. And I'm not talking, by a couple of months. I'm talking, a year. Acceleration, massive acceleration to get you to a point where you now recognize what it is that you need to do going forward. And it takes the mystery out of it, right? And that's the big problem you have in your organizations. Everybody's got a point of view, and the Westrax technology is a point of view that is indisputable. It's looking at your technology, your systems today, the way they're organized and controlled and managed and customized, et cetera. So your SAP system, it takes the mystery out of this and gives you a sense of direction going forward. And if you think about digital, we use that term very generically, right? But digital is things like, is AI and the Internet of Things, it's big data, it's clouds, machine learning, virtual reality, augmented virtual reality, automation, RPA, et cetera, digitization, so on. So there's a lot of things that you want to do in your organization that you simply can't do with ECC, and S4HANA is the way there.
Yeah, but That sounds really good. And, when I talk to companies that really doubt if it makes sense for them to move to S4, I ask them, what is the risk you take if you don't do it? Because it's not that it's just about a new release. It's the starting point. It's the prerequisite for using all these technologies that you've mentioned. You cannot do IoT without S4HANA. It doesn't work with ECC 6.0. So with ECC 6.0, you are on a dead end. It was a good release. It could support all the processes so far. But as I mentioned before, companies have to question their processes. There are so many new possibilities on the market and so many expectations from clients. They learn since Amazon delivers in one day, they expect everybody can do that and things like that. So we have so many examples that clients have expectations to their providers, to their, the companies they work with, their suppliers, that they really ask for this. And it's vital for companies to really make sure they prepare themselves for this digital age. It's not coming, it's there. We're already in the middle. Okay, Rick, let's start the video to see how all that works together, because then I would like to introduce Trevi and Dell and show how this end-to-end value proposition really will work.
This demo of the Westrax Innovation App for Automated Migration Assessments shows you why leading SAP customers ask these vital questions. How do executives mitigate risks of migrations to SAP HANA and S4 HANA and reduce assessment time and costs up to 70%? Can SAP customers find a proven alternative to assessment workshops that require 10 to 12 months of face-to-face meetings? The answer is simple. The C-suite and their IT teams use the Westrax Automated Migration Assessment to gain significant time to value. The app runs the assessment right on the SAP Cloud Platform. First, the executive analysis provides as-is system transparency for decisions with strategic KPI metrics with a valuable system maturity pyramid. The app Deep Dive Analysis provides the facts for all ERP system code and processes to prepare your migration and costs. This eliminates 10 months of face-to-face workshops and 200-page PowerPoints for just one ERP system. The assessment data can be injected into SAP's free analytics tools. Services partners add results to advice.
Thank you, Rick. So you've all seen the timeline already in the video that we just saw. And actually, we ran a focus group a couple of months ago in Frankfurt, Germany, and examined this timeline from the assessment, over the interpretation preparation phase till the execution. Really found out what clients think, what SAP thinks, what partners think, and we had them all in the room. And all were impressed by the speed that we could have with the assessment to really have the, move starting much faster, because the as-is situation does not need to be analyzed in months of workshops. It's just there in one day. The analysis with the app gives you all these deep dive results in one day. I'll tell you a bit more about that later, but Dave, question to you. If you could have this assessment in just one day, you know it from Coty and from other companies. How long did you do, and how long did you need to do that in your former companies?
Wow. I hate to even say this, but in former companies, before the tools came along, this would be a year to figure out where you are. It would take a year to get to a point, and by the way, that year will cost millions, and it will take the brains of lots of people in the organization to come together to figure out what it is that you actually have today. And of course, the problem with all that is that everyone comes to the party with their own opinion because they have a vested interest in keeping what they have as opposed to transforming and moving on to something else. So I think today you've got the ability using Westrax, using great partners such as 3V Solutions and Dell EMC to actually help you get there and help you move to that next level. So here's a chart that shows really what we're talking about, and this is no joke. I mean, in a month, and it's less than a month actually, it's a couple of days to run the app, it will get you to a point that it would have taken you at least a year, and you'd still only get halfway there. And I think any of you that have been through these major major system shifts, even if it's a lift and shift to get to or technology upgrade, you know it can take 6, 9, 12 months to get there and get prepared and understand what's going on. Westrax gives you that ability in under a month, in a day actually, and then you need time obviously to analyze what you've found, and then you make your decisions from that. So I think that's the beauty, and I think the other thing that Diane has mentioned a couple of times is they've got 1,700 different assessments worldwide in different industries, 15 industries, and they provide a KPI view of your environments that you would never find on your own. And it would be very, very difficult to really assess it. And again, it's independent, and that's what I think is the beauty of a product like Westrax. It's independent, and companies like 3V and Solutions and Dell EMC can come in and actually help you take it from that point and move it forward. And we'll talk a little bit more about that later.
Thanks for that. Rick, could you show us the starting point here?
Absolutely. What we'll do now is run a short video to show you the assessment simulator, which is your gift for attending today's webinar, and it's customized for your industry.
The gauges are built on the Westrax database of 1,765 assessments, and the simulation assumes your system is on par with others in your industry. Each gauge provides a definition for the assessment benchmark for decision makers. You find the calculation for the facts. Ranges of performance are provided. The measured best practice appears as the blue mark on the gauge, plus the average for that benchmark is shown. The simulator includes a what-if button where you learn about the return on time investment with the Westrax assessment analysis. A new SAP HANA and S4 migration innovation problem-solving community is launching now with a CIO think tank hosted by Dave Barry, plus Q&A forums to collaborate with peers and Westrax experts. Special offers, 3V and Dell EMC, are included. Now, Mark Denninger at 3V Solutions will talk with you about their consultancy and discuss how these benchmarks in the manufacturing industry example that we're showing today.
Thanks, Rick. Good morning, everyone. So at this point, we have run the Westrax assessment app and had some related data loaded in the dashboard, which is measured through this set of gauges. So the first one is the maturity KPI, and this measures your system readiness for a migration to HANA. And with this customer, we are starting at ground zero, basically, and suggest the customer begin the necessary technical system prep to get the system current. Next is the degree of standardization KPI, which measures to what degree is the customer using the available SAP standard transactions and reports. And so with this KPI, the customer is only using about 56% of the standard transactions. This tells us we need to look at whether the customer can better utilize the standard transactions and how they relate to S/4HANA. Next is the unused standard potential KPI, which measures the customer usage of their standard transactions, or really what they're not using. And in this case, they are not using 70% of their potential. Using only 30% of the standards may mean they are not taking full advantage of their system investment. So a further analysis is needed to gain a better usage of the S4 system as they move forward. With the custom code KPI, it measures the amount of custom code in the system as a percentage of all used standard code plus unused custom code. So for the customer, 60% of their transactions are custom related in this example. We would probably like to bring this down and utilize more of the simplified S/4HANA system. The unlogged custom code measures the custom code not being used, and for this customer, over half of their custom code is not utilized. This shows a lot of waste on the system, which Dave talked about, and it indicates we probably want to leave this behind during the migration. Custom code frequency KPI measures the intensity of custom code usage. Here, only 15% of the custom code is heavily used, which says the usage is not consistent when compared to the universe of all the system-related custom code. So this requires further analysis. The custom code performance KPI measures how well the background jobs are running. This gauge tells us we need to do a further review of these jobs and if they are necessary in the more simplified S/4HANA system. The last gauge, the custom code documentation KPI, measures the documentation related to transactions being generated through the custom code. In this example, 7% of the custom code transactions are missing documentation, and this needs to be corrected for the migration. So that sums up a quick dashboard view of the related KPIs and how to interpret them for your project. On to Del.
Thank you, Mark. So taking all these things into consideration, from the assessment tool, quickly getting insights to the consulting services by 3V and the actual examples that David had shared, the architectural understanding of what is needed. How can I run this new S/4HANA environment? What's the right architecture to provide? How do I provide the security to this specific requirements that I have in my data center? This is where Dell Technologies and Dell EMC comes in. We have a four-pronged strategy approach: simplification and migration, which is a modernization conversation. Then the running that in the right operating model, the on-premise versus in the public cloud versus a private cloud or a hybrid version of the two, and then looking at the edge data with all the sensory data that's now coming in, harnessing that data, using the right technologies. And Dell EMC, Dell Technologies, is able to provide an end-to-end solution for our customers, addressing all of those technology needs.
Thanks a lot. And Mark, we'd like to talk for a minute with you about the greenfield and brownfield and consolidation strategy.
Yeah, so thank you, Rick. So we have three migration approaches here. The first is the greenfield approach, which is really a new implementation of SAP S/4HANA that can enable a complete reengineering and process simplification. The greenfield approach lets organizations predefine migration objects and best practices, lowers time to value and TCO, and facilitates a faster adoption of innovation. The brownfield approach, or as we call it here, lift and shift, is a system conversion that enables migration to SAP S/4HANA without a re-implementation and without disruption to existing business processes. So at the same time, it enables reevaluation of customization and existing process flows. Last, we have the consolidation approach, where companies are looking at the S4 movement as an opportunity to consolidate landscapes, systems, or even divisions, as we're discussing today with customers. And doing an SAP landscape transformation, you can perform selective data migration to S4 or consolidate your business landscape into one global system. So this means that you can first select the process that gives you the best and fastest ROI to be migrated to S4HANA. Next, so this slide here gives you some factors for choosing which migration approach, brownfield versus greenfield. As the first one, overall cost versus benefits. Financially, you need to know, what is this project going to cost? What are the benefits? The WestTrax assessment provides key details necessary for an accurate effort and cost estimate. The benefits are driven by what is going to be utilized in the S4HANA system, along with any re-engineering that is in scope. The volume of custom integrations is identified also through WestTrax and can be analyzed in the R2A workshops as necessary. The optimizations or custom code migration is largely determined by the WestTrax results as well. The compatibility of the current landscape to S4HANA is again provided through WestTrax assessment results, which gives the customer a view of the as-is versus the to-be landscapes. The other factors include total organizational impact via what levels of change management is required, the project lifecycle management and methodology changes and perceived risk to operations. Should we do a lift and shift to minimize risk versus other considerations?
Thanks a lot. And Diana, if you'll pick up and we'll have our housekeeping discussion.
Yes, thank you. So just a short summary so that you know where we are. We started with the KPI analyzer as the assessment where you automatically can analyze all the locations you have on a 5-level hierarchy that shows you the business processes that are supported on any location, any company code with all those drill downs. And out of these results, we have the results to advice part where Mark and Morten just showed how they can support to interpret those results to help you to define the right roadmap at that point in time. And especially I want to focus on why Dell is so crucial at the beginning. Also, the technology point is very important for companies to consider because they need to know what technology is able to do for them. Otherwise, they cannot include that in their strategy, and they still decide on the knowledge they have from the past. So now we've done that. Now we have these first roadmaps where we know exactly what should be done in the next step. We can start doing housekeeping, which means cleanse the system, get rid of old things that you don't need anymore, that will not deliver value in the future. We have, a lot of custom code in place that does not deliver value. We can prove that. We can show how to archive that, so that reduces the effort for the project dramatically. You do not need to migrate all your custom code, just the one that really delivers value. Same is with background jobs. There's a lot of background jobs in place at companies today, thousands of background jobs. You do not need most of them in the future. You need new ones, but not these old ones. We have other things like document types that can be, archived or that can be optimized or can be reduced. And, there's old transactions in place that can be replaced by new ones. So there are many things that can be done with housekeeping. And Dave, may I ask you again, you did that also at Coty after we did the analysis for you. What kind of housekeeping benefits did you receive out of that?
Thank you, Deanna. Yeah, great question. We actually spent several months going through the house cleaning process, which is the first and foremost is what we realized as a result of the assessment is that we were actually, every new release we were putting up of SAP, every patch, every new change, we had to go back and test all the software, and we've, lo and behold, found out that actually half the software we were testing was never actually being executed. No one was using it. Those users had moved on, or a company had reorganized, or whatever. So we went through a 3-month process to go through, and we simply archived the software that was not being utilized. We took a look over periods of time to make sure that we didn't have any software that was being used on quarter end or year end. So we went through that whole process, and we got down to a point where we had about, of the 50% of the software that was not being used, we got down to something below 10% of that, where we said, okay, let's stop here, because it got down to a point where it was so complex to unravel that part. We thought, let's take that and move it to the next level. So the house cleaning significantly reduced the footprint of software, of custom code, simplified things. And the other thing it did is it forced us into a position of looking at the standard transactions of SAP, which we basically should have looked at the beginning. And we then, for some of those software that was running, we then reverted back to the standard SAP application. So the housekeeping took two elements of it. One, gets rid of the software that you don't run anymore, that no one knows you don't run until you do the assessment with Westrax. First part of it. And then the second part of that is you then simplify your overall landscape. So as you're getting ready then to move to S4, you've got a much more streamlined set of systems and software that's running today, and you know what that software is, you know what it runs and what it does, as opposed to, I got years worth of stuff that's just running and I'm not even sure what this stuff does. And to Deanna's point about the background jobs, that was part of our housekeeping as well, of looking at what of those background jobs are actually affecting the real power of the system. And what was affecting our users. And we went through that process as well to really look at the background side of it and began streamlining that as well. So that was part of what we did. It was a two-pronged approach. One is the software itself, and then the background jobs, and that simplified the footprint of our environment. And we were running a single instance in 13 countries in 5 languages, so we had a lot of software running, but it really did simplify it. And as we got ready to move to that next level, we knew exactly what we were moving and what we left behind. And so that's been my experience with the Westrax and the housekeeping activities.
Great. Thank you, Dave, for that. So now that we have cleaned house, Morten, up to you. What can Dell now do for, filling this gap, fit to strategy technology? We have a roadmap. We know what to do. What can Dell now deliver to really make that happen?
Yeah, thank you, Diana. I appreciate what you said. The importance of our customers, our audience who's listening, to understand the technology, because the understanding of the underlying infrastructure, it's what's going to enable a powerful SAP landscape. So with that information, let's consider a few aspects of Dell EMC and Dell Technologies certified SAP solutions for SAP HANA and SAP environments. So Dell EMC has partnered with SAP for more than 23 years. And based on that partnership, we have joint engineering resources inside of SAP in Walldorf, Germany. We have labs, demo centers throughout the world, and we have pre-sale SAP specialists to support customers in their specific needs and conversations around what are the KPIs, how do we take the now assessment that we've done using the Westrax tool and create the best architecture for the required infrastructure that's going to be needed. I mentioned cloud as an operating model. Part of that operating model leverages the Dell EMC portfolio, like our converged and our hyper-converged system servers and storage that enables this cloud on-premise cloud technologies. We also have the public cloud options in the VirtuStream family of Dell technologies that provides the world-class #1 in production SAP customers in a multi-tenant cloud, over 1,000 SAP migrations that's done into the cloud, and enabling a secure hosted multi-tenant cloud environment for our SAP customers migrating to a public cloud. Or if you take the hybrid out option, maybe you have Azure, maybe it's Google, maybe whatever that cloud, SAP cloud platform it is, or Dell Technologies cloud platform, using VMware and VMware supported clouds, then you can now move these resources, depending on what the restraints and the requirements are for that particular workload, for that particular time, into whatever cloud that's most effective for your needs and operating model. Take that, and also coupled with all of the Dell EMC certified SAP solutions for storage, for servers, for networking, for data protection, you name it, from an end-to-end portfolio, Dell EMC, Dell Technologies provides the optimal architecture and environment for our customers.
Thanks, Morten, for that. I think that helps a lot. So if we come back to our timeline, we have, the next step to do. So we have done the preparation, we have analyzed, we have all the SAs now. Now it's time to really do the next steps, which is preparing the system from a technical point of view and thinking of all the innovations. That's where we complement the SAP solutions in the movement program. So we have the SAP readiness check, where you can prove the readiness of your system from a technical point of view. We have the transformation navigator that helps you understand which kind of innovation you can expect, where you can make sure that your processes are really innovative and future ready. And there are many other tools that you can use. I'm especially proud to introduce that we have an integration with a new app, to pump our 5-level business process hierarchy into the solution manager from SAP. Stay on, this will be coming the next couple of months, so soon, so we can do something here as well. But now let's go to the execution phase. Mark and Morten, again, your turn. Mark, you first.
Thanks.
What do you do with the results and all this information now?
Thanks, Diana. So now we're in the execution phase of the effort. And unlike the original implementations of SAP, technology is advanced to allow for automation of a large percentage of the migration process. So automation is the new way to transform. And our concept is an automated factory with successive processes enabling the customer to quickly transform the company with huge savings and near zero downtime. So the automation is key in providing substantial benefits throughout all phases. At the front end is the WestTrax app, compiling the critical statistics and KPIs necessary for fact-based decisions around usage and standardization. And this allows us to create very accurate project plans and roadmaps while mitigating risk early on. And next comes our automation to migrate the identified custom code, the configuration, the data, and finally testing. This is benchmarked at between 40 to 60% savings in time, effort, and cost. And finally, after go live, our methodology and approach enables the customer to provide the ongoing life cycle support while protecting the standards and the documentation and ongoing operational enhancements. And we recommend using the focus-built solutions through the solution manager in providing what is called SAFe, the Scaled Agile Framework for Lean Enterprises. So this timeline depicts a graphical representation of our automated migration versus our traditional migration models that are bogged down by manual efforts and workshops, coupled with delayed decisions caused by lack of actual, real information to make key decisions on a timely basis.
So, Morten, if you'll speak for just a minute more from an implementation point of view.
Yes, certainly. Again, back to what has been discussed, considering all these elements, just another plug here for the technologies that's key to making all this great software miracles happen. Dell EMC uses Intel CPUs processors, and recently you may have heard about the Intel Optane DC persistent memory that now supports higher SAP workloads with up to 2.5 times more memory and a lower TCO than DRAM modules. That means you can get up to 3 terabytes of memory per CPU, higher capacity, this data persistence at no power loss when you have an outage, so that you can have a quicker restart of your HANA and your SAP application environment. 12.5 times faster restart times. So coupled with a Cascade Lake processors, now you can scale up to much higher workloads that you could prior to this generation of Intel CPUs. Significant differentiator for your new migrated to SAP HANA and S4 environment. As I mentioned, the multiplicity of SAP certified solutions from Dell EMC makes the difference. Peace of mind for the customer, where they do not have to go too many other places to find what they need, because from an end-to-end perspective, from running your operating model in a public cloud to a private cloud or a hybrid version of the two, Dell EMC and Dell Technologies provides the solution needed for your new and migrated to SAP environment.
Thank you. And now we've reached the third section of our webinar today. And Emil, if you would kindly summarize the benefits that we've discussed, and we'll move through the last section of the webinar.
Okay, thanks, Rick. So you have got now a lot of information with the contribution of all concerned parties, WestTrax, PTT, Dell EMC, 3V Solutions, and of course SAP. We can generate great benefits for you as a client. So let me give now a quick summary about that. WestTrax, no painful workshops with duration up to 12 months. With the WestTrax app, you have a valid and solid as is result available within 1 day, which is 99% faster. With these facts in hand, you do not migrate unnecessary programs and processes, with the result that your migration costs will be reduced by up to 70%. This causes additionally shorter project duration, which is a reduction up to 50%. As a matter of fact, knowing what happens in the beginning is equal to avoid unnecessary risks. And finally, you can compare yourself with your industries and the entire market because of the access to the WestTrax benchmark database. Dell EMC, offering the different infrastructure options depending on clients' individual needs, but all options are certified. Especially the one-shop approach concerning the infrastructure is of great benefit. Dell EMC is a market leader in data protection and high availability for mission-critical SAP application. With its professional services, Dell EMC has the entire capability for SAP HANA deployment, migration, and re-platforming projects. 3V, relating to individual needs, the results to advice processes secures the right strategy for success. Experts and fully automated approach guarantee highest level of quality and significant mitigation of risks. 3V has the migration factory for fast and cost-effective project realization. It covers preparation, transformation, migration, and professional handover to client. In summary, this is an outstanding consortium created for client benefits only. So now I am really happy to introduce to you our guest from SAP, which is John Stark, Vice President, ISV Business Development, Global Strategic Partnerships. John is a great supporter for us. He's fully behind this consortium and his conceptual approach, because these partners bring all missing and necessary things to the table in order to complement SAP's free tools and move program. But before we come now to John, we will first talk about the free on-site workshop. Diana, Morten, Mark.
Absolutely. So as you've been listening to this presentation, I'm sure you were asking yourself, so what next? What I need to do? And how can I best leverage these resources? WestTrack, 3V Solutions, consulting services, and Dell EMC technologies to enable my migration to my specific needs. Well, here is your opportunity. This is for you who are in this audience and listening to this webinar. Here's our gift to you, an on-site workshop for you and your SAP sales executives, your IT SAP team, basis team, for us to come on site and provide an assessment workshop. Again, this is an introduction to what we can do specifically based on your SAP migration needs. During this workshop, we'll talk about, okay, here's what the market is saying, but really, what's real for you based on your KPIs and migration requirements? What are the resource requirements to be able to migrate over to the SAP S/4HANA? We'll do a Q&A. We'll provide the demonstration, as you had a glimpse of today in the webinar. We'll do this in a more detail on site with you and your SAP team. For us to customize that and help you create your business case to migrate in an accelerated fashion, as Diana has shared with us in detail. And what is that list? What are the to-dos? What are the next steps? What would that timeline be like based on these new tools that you learn about today? We'd also bring our architectural specialists from Dell Technologies, Dell EMC, with us and have a whiteboarding discussion where we map out the specific architectural needs based, again, on your unique requirements and what it translates to. So based on this information, this understanding now, you'll be able to make the best decision based on your migration need.
Thank you, Morten. Okay, John, please talk with us now about SAP and this partnership.
Great, thank you so much, Imo. So everybody, when it comes down to it, I think you're all aware SAP's got a diverse ecosystem of partners, but for a number of reasons. First, SAP, we can't do everything ourselves, and we work with partners to create new software solutions that complement and enhance our own solutions. We've partners to provide market-leading hardware, cloud infrastructure, and services. And we've got implementation consulting resale partners to ensure these migrations are successful. And sometimes a fantastic triangulation comes together, like we have here. WestTrack, Dell, 3V are all validated, certified SAP partners, and they're all critical components in the SAP movement to S4. I think the reasons to move have been, outlined very well here. But just to emphasize, the intelligent enterprise from SAP can only be fully realized by moving to the digital core of S/4HANA and all the goodness Leonardo, and the other intelligent suite components that are connected can provide. So I think the main thing is if you're looking to migrate now or later, you need to know why, what, and how, and you need to know quickly. Do your assessment of your systems now without disruption. So the information can be digested now in hours or days versus weeks or months, and that's a hugely valuable value proposition. Even just this decision-making activity will help to allow your organization to be more agile and competitive. So, knowing what you have now is the first step. If you haven't done that, you're not on the journey. And I think, Emo, when it comes down to the partnership and the relationship, I've mentioned, we deal with many partners. We have, of course, many customers, and we're here to ensure that our customers are in the best hands. Whether you're working directly with us or you're working deeply with our partners, that's always your choice. In fact, although you may be using an SAP system specifically, getting information from an independent third-party group like you've got here is really important. Your mission critical app strategy needs to have the right independent assessment of your systems and data. And I really invite you to take advantage of all the solutions available you have to migrate to S4HANA, especially of those which have been explained in detail here today. So thank you very much, Emo, for letting me speak.
Thank you, John. We really appreciate that. And while we've been moving along, some questions have come in. And we have just a couple of quick minutes to address them. The first is a question for Mark at 3V Solutions. And people are asking in regards to the automated migration factory processes, are they able to get a proof of concept of the factory solution? Mark?
Yes, thanks, Rick. Yes, we do provide POC to customers. We, of course, would identify the set of transactions or the actual scope of the POC, and these normally can be done within a week, no more than 2. So we can actually show results fast to the customer from a POC as to the results that will come out on the back end for using their data, their code, their systems. So yeah.
Thanks, Mark. I see a question here for Westrax, and that question is, where do we connect and contact with someone for a discussion and a full demo of the Westrax Assessment Analysis app? Diana?
Yeah, Rick. Well, that's pretty simple. You know the contact. So the contact Rick's out at Business Transformation today. He's our digital publisher and partner, and he will provide you with all the information about, the assessment simulator dashboard and also the contact information for the opportunities to see a demo.
That's great. Thanks, Diana. And we have a question for Dell EMC, and I think this is a wonderful, considering everything that we've heard today. It's a real specific question for Morton. Exactly when in the process should we involve Dell EMC?
Thank you, Rick. As early as possible. For you to get the 360-degree picture of what is needed, not just pertaining to the specific application that you're considering migrate, whether it's brownfield, greenfield, considering all the customization and what needs to be changed. The earlier we can be involved from a technology point of view, you'll see a bigger picture. We'll be able to provide the technology insights. What does that pertain to my security needs at the hardware layer? How does that affect my high availability, business continuity, disaster recovery? How do I enable the cloud in this specific migration conversation? That's where Dell EMC can provide value. The sooner the better. We'll be right there alongside with Westrax, BTT, and 3V Solutions as we have the initial assessment workshop that we're offering for you today, and to have and guide that conversation. So again, we're looking forward to meet with you.
Thank you, Morton. And thank you, everybody. Thank you, everyone, for attending. You'll receive information shortly as to your free simulator dashboard for the assessments, and you'll also receive a link to the recording that we've made of today's webinar for your further review. We appreciate your attendance. Thank you all again for joining us, and have a good day.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.